Amidst a heavy snowfall on the great cold day, second Elder Tang was leisurely playing his zither when a figure holding an umbrella descended from above. A hired killer arriving with such polite greetings, Elder Tang immediately guessed his identity. Su Mu Yu, also known as the Seizing Ghost, the top expert of the Su family and leader of the Dark River, the world's deadliest assassin organization. However, Tang was unaware that the young man was merely a visitor today. His true opponent was the Grand Patriarch, who had come to settle the score from a crushing defeat 40 years prior. Without further ado, Elder Tang unleashed his ultimate technique, 10,000 trees, flying flowers, filling the sky with a beautiful yet formidable display of swirling petals and leaves. The two engaged in a fierce battle, neither yielding an inch. Ultimately, the Grand Patriarch emerged victorious, but unfortunately, he was also poisoned by Elder Tang's Snowfall Single Plum Blossom, a potent toxin that left him gravely wounded. Both men believed themselves to be players in the game, only to discover they were mere pawns in someone else's hands. Suspecting the involvement of other powerful families in this orchestrated scheme, the Grand Patriarch, unwilling to reveal his weakened state to his rivals, decided against returning to the Dark River. Instead, he set course for Qiantang City to seek treatment from a renowned physician named Bai Qian. Shifting scenes, the Grand Patriarch and his subordinates were traveling through a bamboo forest by carriage when they encountered a strange fog. Someone had laid a trap. They had walked into an ambush the moment they entered the forest. It turned out that everything was orchestrated by Mu Yunji of the Mu family. He claimed to have received news of Su Mu Yu's betrayal and attempted assassination of the Grand Patriarch, and that he'd been sent by the Xin family to send him off, meaning to kill him. Immediately, the two engaged in a furious fight. Su Mu Yu, with just a few basic moves, frightened Mu Yunji into a panicked retreat. This incident suggested that the Mu family was aware of the Grand Patriarch's injury. Mu Zaitrap, the head of the Mu family, had never been one to hide his ambitions. Fearing he might learn of their destination and eliminate the physician, the Grand Patriarch decided to send Su Mu Yu alone to Qiantang City to fetch Bai Qian. Meanwhile, upon learning of the events, the head of the Su family dispatched Su Changhe, a close friend of Su Mu Yu, to assassinate the Grand Patriarch. Returning to our protagonist, Su Mu Yu, on his journey, he encountered a young woman who, upon questioning, revealed herself to be a disciple of the Bai He Medical Hall. Since her master was temporarily unavailable, she entrusted Su Mu Yu to scout ahead and lead the way. As they arrived at an estate, a figure with horns sprouting from his head suddenly dropped down from the roof. So, they were just Su Mo Wu's underling, huh? After entering and examining the girl, she declared the strange poison to be Snow-Falling Single Plum Blossom, a poison supposedly incurable except by the two Tang elders. But no worries, because our Medicine King Valley's motto is, "As long as there's money and you're not dead yet, we can save you." Su Mo Wu, learning from the beauty that his old master had ascended ages ago, started doubting her ability to actually cure it. Fortunately, the Grand Elder stepped in and introduced the young lady as Xin Bai Cao, the junior martial aunt of the previous Medicine King, and the closed-door disciple of Lai Yuzhen, the first Valley Master of Medicine King Valley. Her name is Bai Qian. Later, in the courtyard, Bai Qian recalled her master telling her about the Dark River, the world's largest assassin organization, formed by the Su, Zai, and Mu families. Every few years, they elect a leader to command all three families, known as the Grand Elder. Under the Grand Elder is a group of assassins called the Chu Ying, led by someone called Kiwi. Since Su Mo Wu is always by the Grand Elder's side and wears a demonic mask, the young woman naturally guessed he's the leader of the Chu Ying. Continuing their conversation, Bai Qian remembered two strangers causing trouble at her door that morning. It turns out they were Su Changhe and Su Ji, who came to eliminate the divine healer. Upon hearing this, Su Mo Wu immediately ordered Chen Long and Mao Tu to escort Bai Qian and the others north to Jiuzhou City, while he stayed behind to intercept. No sooner had he spoken than Xiangua Gui and Dao Yan Luo of the Zai family arrived. But our protagonist, fearing nothing, single-handedly took on the two, sending them running in terror. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, he then encountered Su Changhe, who tried to persuade Su Mo Wu to join him in overthrowing the Grand Elder and supporting the Su family head to become the new leader, offering Su Mo Wu the freedom he longed for. The protagonist replied that his loyalty to the Su family ran deep, but as Qi, he was responsible only to the Grand Elder. With his words falling on deaf ears, Su Chang he had no choice but to attack his sworn brother. The scene then shifts to a marketplace where a young man in green receives a message. Opening it, he reads, "Serious illness, temporarily hiding in the Taoist temple. Arriving late will certainly cause trouble." After exchanging blows for a while, Su Chang and Su Muwu were interrupted by the sudden appearance of the blue-robed man from inside the house. He turned out to be Mu Bai, the young master of the Mu family. However, this guy wasn't much of a challenge. Su Chang quickly injured his meridians, forcing him to retreat. This temporary ceasefire allowed Chang and Muwu to talk. Su Chang declared that since he hadn't completed the mission assigned by the family head, he'd be crippled upon his return, meaning the Grand Elder would have to cripple him. Out of respect for their close brotherhood, he gave Muwu a few more days to consider his options before turning to leave. Inside a carriage on the way to Nine Firmament City, the Grand Elder was being contorted like a pretzel by Bai Hui, who was treating his illness. Bai Hui explained that the Snowdrop Plum Blossom poison was extremely potent, and a complete cure was unlikely. He could only guarantee the Grand Elder's safety for the next 6 months. Upon hearing this, the Grand Elder simply replied that it was enough. Meanwhile, the restless Su Chang sought out Zai Fenghua, the young master of the Zai family, for a fight. He single-handedly took on 3 opponents before promptly leaving with Uncle Ji. Before departing, he couldn't resist taunting the Zai family members, calling them incompetent and easily angered, leaving them fuming but helpless. Once outside, uncle and nephew discussed their plan. Su Chang would send people to intercept Su Muwu, preventing him from immediately pursuing the Grand Elder. Meanwhile, they would take the opportunity to eliminate the Divine Physician. As an extra precaution, he also sent subordinates to the northern imperial city to spread rumors that Tang clan members were within the city. With Tang Lao deceased, the person most likely seeking revenge would be Tang Lion Yu, the future head of the Tang clan. On the other side, our protagonist was being intercepted by 2 young women sent by Su Chang. They claimed that Su Muwu wouldn't kill members of the Su family, so if they couldn't stop him, they'd just sleep with Brother Muwu. These 2 clearly underestimated our protagonist's killer instinct as they attempted a sneak attack with their swords. Even before he lifted a finger, he'd already locked the young lady's sword in its sheath, turned his back, and left. After taking a break at an abandoned house and returning to Bai Hui's side, he found her administering acupuncture to the Grand Elder. These needles not only inflicted physical pain, but also dredged up painful memories the old man desperately wanted to forget. To Letter 189 Vu hadn't taken more than a few steps when he ran into To Hui, the To family's old master. This old man, with nothing better to do, had come to play Go with our protagonist, clearly a stalling tactic. Letter 189 Vu had no choice but to play a quick game with him before moving on. Back with the Grand Elder, in his dream, the old man saw the 832 people he'd sent to the afterlife. Normally, he wouldn't be afraid of them. He'd dealt with them once, twice, what's another time? But this time, when he drew his sword, it unexpectedly snapped, jolting the Grand Elder awake in a cold sweat. Meanwhile, To Letter 189 Vu and To Hui's quick game of Go stretched until freaking daybreak. Finally, Master To Hui, defeated, resorted to bringing up the life debt our protagonist owed him, begging him to stay for just 1 more incense stick's worth of time. To Letter 189 Vu reluctantly agreed. Once the incense stick burned down and Letter 189 Vu got up to leave, the old man resorted to threatening suicide to force him to stay. Oh honey, our protagonist snapped the old master's sword in half and flew right past him. Back with Bai Hui, they hadn't even rested for long before enemies came for the Grand Elder. So, once again, she and the protagonist's group had to mount up and flee. Unexpectedly, the newcomer was none other than Tang Lion Yu of the Tang clan, seeking revenge for the 2nd elder of the Tang family. So, the young lady Mao Tu let the group go ahead, staying behind alone to deal with Yu of the Tang clan. Who would have thought that Tang Lion Yu would actually gain the upper hand and attempt to finish off a beautiful, delicate young girl? Fortunately, Su Muyu arrived just in time to block his killing blow and protect his little Mao. The 2 coordinated seamlessly, creating a white sparrow formation to blind Tang Lion Yu and escape together. They entered a marketplace, and luckily, just as they needed transportation, they came across a horse-drawn carriage. Su Muyu was about to pay for it when a servant ran out and said that his master had instructed them to just take it if they were in a hurry, as long as they protected the beautiful young lady in purple. However, inside the carriage, the girl read a note urging her to try and persuade Su Muyu. She immediately inquired about his thoughts on facing Zai Changhe. The naive male lead replied that as soon as the Grand Elder recovered and returned to the Su family, he would revoke Changhe's authority, ensuring his safety. Elsewhere, someone wasn't so naive. Zai Changhe knew that if he killed the Grand Elder now, he wouldn't survive either. So, he decided to let Su Muyu use the carriage and continue on their journey. He even asked Uncle Huey to spread some news while they proceeded to Nine Heaven City. Meanwhile, Elder Huey and the two young girls, as planned, encountered the Zai family's men. He ordered the girls to kill them all, leaving only one alive. He then sent him back with a message for the family head. If they wanted to kill the Grand Elder, they should come to Nine Heaven City. Back at the banquet, Changhe expressed his unwillingness to fight Muyu, because in the dark river, Muyu was his guiding light. The scene shifted to a childhood memory of Zai Changhe. While escaping, the young boy fell into a deep pit, thinking he was done for, when luckily, Su Muyu appeared and lowered a rope to save him. From that day on, the two became close brothers, growing up together practicing swordsmanship. Because they were both so strong, they were chosen by the Su family head to represent the family and sent to the Wang Shu Pavilion to study sword manuals. Zai Changhe, raising his cup, recounted that he still remembered Muyu's answer at the family initiation ceremony. As long as one is strong enough, one can afford to be naive. That year, after learning that Su Huey had taken the two teenagers to the Wang Shu Pavilion, the head of the Mu family decided to eliminate these two potential threats. He arranged for the close friends to be placed in the same squad within the perilous Ghost Cry Abyss, intending for them to kill each other, leaving only one survivor. Su Muyu and Su Changhe, both possessing exceptional swordsmanship, worked together, effortlessly eliminating the weaker members of their squad. However, Muyu, prioritizing brotherhood, refused to harm his friend, even though it meant they both might perish within the abyss. The fearless youth, sword pointed defiantly at the elders above, insisted that both of them must live. Mu Zai Trap, visibly displeased, was about to execute the two boys when a voice suddenly stopped him. The esteemed Grand Elder emerged, asking the young man if they were worth the Shadow Stream breaking its century-old rules. Su Muyu confidently declared that they were, guaranteeing that within 6 years, they would become the most elite assassins the Shadow Stream had seen in a century. Intrigued by the youth's bold claim, the Grand Elder agreed, allowing them to each choose a family name. He personally presided over the ceremony, formally adopting them into the Su family of the Shadow Stream. However, he warned them that if they failed to fulfill their promise within 6 years, he would personally end their lives. Overjoyed, the two teenagers chose the names Su Muyu and Su Changhe, officially joining the Shadow Stream's Su family. Back in the present, after waking from the dream, Su Changhe remarked that the Grand Elder, who had saved their lives, was now being targeted by the family head under orders from the clan leader, a clear case of repaying kindness with malice. However, he also saw it as a way of honoring the Grand Elder's teachings, as their first lesson had been about severing all emotional ties. Meanwhile, in the south, inside a vehicle, Mo Mo Wu confessed to being the spy within the Chu Ying, as Changhe had previously sought her out. Torn between her two sworn brothers, she urged Su Muyu to escape while she stayed behind to deal with Tang Lion Yu. Alas, this brother, just like last time, hesitated to harm a beautiful woman, allowing her to escape first and leaving him hanging from a tree branch. Unexpectedly, he managed to free himself and was now attempting to attack her. They were on their way to Nine Firmament City. The Grand Elder recounted the tradition originating from the Sword Immortals competition during the founding of the nation. The young woman had heard that all aspiring young swordsmen wished to visit Nine Firmament City once, so they could feel the lingering sword intent for years to come. She was curious about the sword that could split Nine Firmament City in half with a single strike. The Grand Elder began to tell the story of the Sword Immortal's final blow, a strike that killed a sword with such force that it tore apart the clouds in the sky. Afterward, the Sword Immortal entered the city. It then rained heavily in Nine Firmament City for 10 straight days. Such heavy rainfall for 10 days was unheard of in that northern city. Thus, it was said that the sword Immortal's strike had shattered the heavens. This was the origin of the legendary "one sword shatters 9 firmaments." The young woman, noticing the Grand Elder also carried a sword, inquired further. He replied that an ordinary person's sword is a sword, but the sword of someone from the Shadow Stream is merely a weapon. Elsewhere, Ji Shu and Su Shuang he were discussing their plans. Su Shuang he was calm, having already planted a spy within the Th-1E7, 1E3 and H Shadow Guard. The remaining matters would be handled by the Zai and Mu families. Su Shuang he excused himself to find a place to rest, but instead went to intercept Su Muyu. Su Shuang he invited him for a drink, but Su Muyu resolutely rode his horse into the city. The Grand Elder, meanwhile, inquired about the antidote for the White Crane poison. Huai revealed the soul transfer method of the Medicine King Valley. When used, it allows the user to share the senses and perceptions of the poisoned person, thereby enabling them to understand and create an antidote for the poison. Finally, they arrived at the Shadow Guard's base. Just then, members of the Zai and Mu families appeared and attacked. The Mu family deployed the Heavenly Net formation. Zai Fan Hua engaged the Grand Elder in single combat. As for Su Muyu, while riding his horse, a child ran out in front of him. In reality, the child was the puppet of Mu Yanji. He appeared and tried to stop Su Muyu. Without wasting time, Su Muyu swiftly cut the strings controlling the child, causing him to fall to the ground. Su Muyu continued riding into the city. Informed of Mu Yanji's failure, the latter alerted the Zai family to intercept Su Muyu at the next intersection. Back at the Shadow Guard's base, the members were trapped within the Heavenly Net formation. They then attacked the Grand Elder, but were no match for him. The Grand Elder drew his sword and dispatched them with a single blow. At that moment, seeing the wooden bird messenger, they guessed that Zhu Shao had been alerted. They left behind soul guiding incense and retreated. The Grand Elder's injuries began to flare up again. He then used his internal energy to force the poison from the soul guiding incense out of his body. Having originated from the Mu family, he was familiar with this poison. Unfortunately, they had ascertained the extent of his injuries and surmised this was the true objective of the Zai and Mu families. As Su Muyu rode on, members of the Zai family attacked him. Hearing the horses neigh, the Grand Elder knew it was time to enter Zhu Shao. He then retrieved the key to open the entrance. On the way in, they had to hold their breath and remain silent, as the path was guarded by a soundless barrier. The passage leading to the Grand Elder's room was riddled with traps. He reminded the Grand Elder that if anything happened, he should release the wooden bird perched on the door. He would come immediately. Entering the room, Bai Qian wondered why the Grand Patriarch was trying so hard to appear as if nothing was wrong. He mentioned having trusted Bai Qian greatly in the past, but they hadn't seen each other for 30 years. He explained he couldn't use the soul-shifting technique because he had just fought a major battle, and forcing it might do more harm than good. Later, Bai Qian went outside for some fresh air. Suddenly, Su Shuanga attacked. She used the Su family's ghostly steps to evade. Not stopping there, she used the Su family's 3-needle guidance to bind him, but he easily broke free. Seeing him charge, Bai Qian tried to reach a wooden bird, presumably a trap, but was knocked down. Just as she was in danger, Su Muwu returned in time to intervene. The two brothers exchanged a few words before engaging in a brief fight. When Su Muwu called a halt, Su Shuanga left. Su Muwu assured Bai Qian that he would protect her until the Grand Patriarch recovered. Meanwhile, Su Shuanga encountered Mu Qingyan on her way back. He performed a divination for her. Su Ji appeared, and Mu Qingyan retreated. Su Ji informed Su Shuanga that they were waiting for her in a room. Upon entering, a sword was held to her throat. Afterward, he approached the Su family head and declared he would obtain the Mayan-long sword within 10 days. The next day, Su Muwu led Chu Niu to the center of Chu Sao's formation, revealing that the mechanism map he'd given the Su family was missing this part. He declared himself to be the 12th Zaio of Chu Ying, also known as Su Shanjun of the Su family. Su Muwu retorted that once someone joined Chu Ying, they were no longer part of the Su family. He accused Su Shanjun of forgetting the oath sworn upon joining Chu Ying. Years earlier, Su Ji had offered the Koi position to Su Muwu, but the other families objected, as he was an unknown. To prove himself worthy, he accepted challenges from their elites. He swiftly defeated the first two. Next was Wu Mo. She was reluctant to duel him, but the family head pressured her into it. The fourth was Su Shuanghe. She stated a killer could only trust their own blade. She wouldn't stop Su Muwu from becoming coy, but wanted him to remember her words. The fifth challenger was Su Shanjin. Within the time it takes an incense stick to burn, all those who challenged Su Muwu left the arena. He appeared last, declaring victory. The furious family heads wanted to execute them all, but Su Muwu pleaded to spare them so he could re-establish the 12 Zio of Chu Ying. They were made to swear an oath to protect the Grand Patriarch with their lives. Back in the present, Chu Niu attacked with his mace, but was no match for Su Muwu. Su Muwu decided to let him go, warning him never to return to threaten Su Shuanghe. The hunchback appeared behind Su Muwu, cautioning him against releasing Chu Niu. On Zai Fenghua's side, there was a new addition Zai Bu Zai. Meanwhile, Chu Niu was intercepted by Zai Chang's and Zai Bu Zai. Chu Niu was quickly overwhelmed and, refusing to hand over the Chu Sao mechanism map, was killed. At that moment, Mu Zuwei appeared. Elsewhere, the fight between Wu Mo and Tang Lianyu continued. Wu Mo coughed up blood and fainted. Tang Lianyu initially intended to leave but returned to check on her. Bai Qian tried calling for Su Muwu, and he appeared immediately. She offered to treat the Grand Patriarch, but demanded a higher fee. Upon completion, she wanted Chu Sao as payment, citing its secure mechanisms. Su Muwu agreed that after the treatment, he would transform the White Crane Pharmacy in Zhongnan into the Mechanism Pharmacy. However, Bai Qian also wanted the 12 Zio for protection. At that point, Mu Qingyang arrived and began another divination. Afterward, Mu Bai and then Zai Fenghua appeared. The 6 of them decided to scout Chu Shao's spider web. Su Muyu was watching the rain when Bai Qian approached. Not seeing Muyu, he returned and reported the mission complete, saying she would return on her own. She then asked him to prepare 100 red candles and 18 bronze mirrors. She would treat the Grand Elder the following night. Su Muyu gave her the laymen's Chongtian sword, a gift from the laymen for fighting alongside them. Meanwhile, Tang Lianyu carried Wu Mo into an inn-room for treatment. Su Cheng he saw this and decided to investigate. He attempted to examine Wu Mo, but Tang Lianyu stopped him, saying, "Only I can treat her injuries." As Yang he left, Wu Mo woke up. She jokingly suggested they sleep together, causing him to blush and run out embarrassed. Su Changhe, standing outside, entrusted Wu Mo's care to Tang Lianyu and declared he would retrieve the Grand Elder's head. As for Su Muyu, he gathered the 12 guardians and instructed them to carefully protect the ancestral shrine and the Grand Elder that night. Inside, Bai Qian prepared to treat the Grand Elder. After administering acupuncture, she went out to chat with Su Muyu, advising him to take better care of himself. She then inquired about his relationship with Changhe. As they were talking, Zhu Gu Dog detected someone and gave chase. They left behind the 12 guardians' insignia of Chu Niu Ox. Seeing this, Su Muyu told Zhu Gu to stay and protect the Grand Elder and Bai Qian while he went out for a moment. Su Muyu pursued the intruder, who led him to Chu Niu's grave. He recalled saving Chu Niu in the past. Since then, they had been like family, fighting side by side. Chu Niu wanted a good life, so he had allowed him to avoid this conflict. He never expected it would harm Chu Niu. Su Chang he then arrived, urging him to face reality. At Chu Shao, the time had come for Bai Qian to treat the Grand Elder. She reminded everyone that no one should disturb them during the treatment. Outside, the attackers began their assault, entering through the main gate. Hearing the commotion, Yin Hu Tiger went to investigate and discovered a fallen enemy. It turned out that Zai Changzi had broken the silent formation. Zai Bu Zai intercepted Yin Hu and Chen Long Dragon to allow the others to penetrate deeper. Next, they faced the giant stone bewildering soul formation. Mu Zu Wai and Mu King Yang broke the formation. Niu Ma Horse and Wai Yang Goat rushed forward to stop them. The Zai and Mu families clashed in the central courtyard of Chu Shao. Soon, they broke the second gate's formation. On Su Muyu's side, he was sparring with Su Changhe. At this moment, Changhe told him, "If you don't return, I'm afraid Chu Shao will be wiped out." Hearing this, he quickly returned. At Chu Xiao, the final formation of the central courtyard had been broken, and the Mu family prepared to attack the rear courtyard. Zai Buzai went easy on Chen Long and Yin, who because his purpose was to find Su Mu Yu. Then, Lao Hu Old Tiger also arrived. Inside the room, Bai Hui used the soul transfer technique to treat the Grand Elder. She fell into an illusion, which was the Grand Elder's inner world. Outside, Lao Gu Old Man intervened to prevent Zai Buzai from finding Su Mu Yu. Zhu Wai followed. In the illusion, Bai Hui ran in fear and unexpectedly came upon the Grand Elder talking with Suji. The Grand Elder told Suji to leave the Dark River and take care of his wife and children. Outside, Zai Buzai quickly defeated Zhu Gu and Hai Zhu Pig. Just then, Su Mu Yu returned. He noticed the Zai family concealed a very good blade. Zai Buzai had heard from his master that his blade skills were unmatched in the Dark River, but they were far inferior to Su Mu Yu's swordsmanship. He had come to find Su Mu Yu for a duel. He wanted to fight, and Su Mu Yu would oblige. Zhu Wai also arrived. She stated she wasn't there to fight, but to find Su Mu Yu and request he use the 18-sword formation. Zai Buzai was then forced to use his Ice Heart technique. Immediately after, an intense one-on-one battle unfolded. Su Chang he revealed that just as he was about to die, Su Mu Yu suddenly and perfectly executed the 18-sword formation. Chang he then reminded Mu Yu, only by facing life and death can one truly understand heaven and earth. At this point, Zai Buzai recalled his master's words and unleashed a series of beautiful saber strikes. However, he was no match for Su Mu Yu. Soon after, he was wounded by one of Mu Yu's swords. Mu Yu said, "You haven't found a true reason worth fighting to the death for." Hearing this, Zai Buzai left, determined to find the meaning Mu Yu spoke of. Zhu Wai approached Su Mu Yu and gave him medicine for his wounds. In a vision, Bai Hui saw a scene of people filled with resentment. Suddenly, she noticed a mark and recognized it as the Wen family's unique poison, the One Life Grasp. At that moment, the Grand Patriarch appeared behind her. He explained that it was just a dream, but refused to believe her and attacked. Bai Hui used the Su family's ghostly steps to evade him, leading him to believe she was a member of the Su family. The Grand Patriarch's memories within the dream and his real memories began to intertwine. At this point, both he and Bai Hui awoke. He questioned her identity and knowledge of the Su family's martial arts, suspecting she was seeking the secrets of the Mayan long sword. He warned, "The more you know, the sooner you'll depart." Hearing Bai Hui's cry, Su Mu Yu rushed in. Just as the Grand Patriarch was about to strike her, Mu Yu intervened and saved her. While Su Mu Yu held off the Grand Patriarch, Mu Zhu Wai attacked. Bai Hui immediately used Heart Sky Guidance to dodge, then released a wooden bird to send a message. Lao Gu, upon receiving the message, quickly returned. The Grand Patriarch, in a confused state, swung his sword at everyone. Unfortunately, Bai Hui fell into a secret passage. Su Mu Yu immediately jumped in after her to save her. Above, Zhu Wai released a potent poison into the passage and sealed it, despite having previously given Mu Yu a Wu Hua Huan pill. At this moment, the Grand Patriarch regained his senses and unleashed his power against those who sought his life. In the secret chamber, after discovering the poison, Su Mu Yu offered Bai Hui an antidote pill. However, as a skilled physician, she was able to neutralize the poison herself. They searched for a way out and discussed Zhu Wai. In the past, Zhu Wai had practiced poison arts. The Grand Patriarch was accidentally affected, and anyone who touched him would die. Su Mu Yu asked Bai Hui to save Zhu Wai, explaining that her actions were dictated by family orders. Bai Hui agreed to help on one condition, but first, they had to escape. Elsewhere, Su Chang He and Su Ji determined it was time to retrieve the Mayan long sword. The Grand Patriarch's subordinate, having finished observing, ran back to report. Su Mu Yu and Bai Hui were lost in what seemed like a maze. She inquired about Su Ji, and he revealed he was the previous QE. According to the rules of an He, the QE is the next Grand Patriarch. Unfortunately, during a mission, the Grand Patriarch was ambushed, and Su Ji was gravely injured. Back in the present, Su Mu Yu's wounds reopened. Bai Hui immediately treated him. Then, she asked Mu Yu to lead her out. On one side, the Mo and Zai families joined forces to wrest the Mayan long sword from the hands of the Amha clan's Grand Elder. However, it proved no easy feat. The Elder unleashed a powerful crossbow attack against them. Following this, he used the Mayan long sword to strike a single blow, injuring all the members of both families. Seeing the unfavorable situation, they retreated, and the Grand Elder collapsed unconscious. Meanwhile, on the streets, Su Ji and Su Xianghua were discussing a plan of infiltration. Elsewhere, in a cave, Bai Huai was tending to Su Muyu. Taking advantage of his unconscious state, she attempted to touch him, but he awoke, causing her to become embarrassed and move away. She picked up a book to read and discovered it was a collection of short stories titled The Piggy Bank, much to her amusement. Su Muyu, using a Mo clan martial art related to sleep, Mayan Jai Fa sleep instant technique, inherited from Mo Zhaoyang, quickly recovered. He then urged the physician to leave. Still curious about the piggy bank stories, she asked to borrow the book to continue reading. As they exited the cave, a large rock blocked the entrance. Su Muyu used his strength to punch a hole through it, allowing them to pass. Upon emerging, they were immediately attacked by Mo Bai and several puppets. Su Muyu engaged the puppets in rapid combat, quickly defeating them. However, even after he shattered them, Mo Bai was able to reassemble them and continue the attack. Meanwhile, Xianghua spotted Zai Fanghua running by and engaged him in combat. They exchanged blows, but due to previous injuries, Fanghua was no match for Xianghua. As Zai Cheng attempted a joint attack with Fanghua against Xianghua, he was unexpectedly killed. It turned out that Cheng had been working with Xianghua to eliminate Fanghua in a staged attack. However, they were unaware that Mo Zizhu had observed the entire scene from above. After Xianghua left, Mo Zizhu confronted him, leading to an argument and a subsequent fight. Mao too had awakened and, with exaggerated movements, insisted that Tang Liaoyu apply medicine to her. It turned out she was deliberately stalling for time, allowing her senior disciple to fight Xianghua. The southern prince, along with his entourage, fought for a while before discovering a way to break the deadlock, much to Mo Bai's surprise. Just as he was about to finish off Mo Bai, Mo Qingyang arrived and stopped him. While pondering their survival against the Mo family, support arrived in the form of Tu Ji, who offered to join forces with Mo Wu to fight the Mo clan. However, as the prince charged into battle, Tu Ji unexpectedly attacked the divine doctor Shen Yi, who skillfully dodged his attack and called him a dead dog. Hearing Bai Huai's words, Tu Ji was reminded of his deceased wife and wept with emotion. Before he could speak further, Mo Bai ordered his men to surround and attack the divine doctor. Upon realizing that the divine doctor was his daughter, however, he fiercely protected Huai, fighting alongside his daughter while reminiscing about the past. The prince then approached to congratulate Tu Ji. Meanwhile, Ta Changbai carried the lifeless body of Fuanghua back to the manor. Seeing his beloved disciple dead, Ta Ba was furious and interrogated Changbai. Though informed that Fuanghua was killed by Tu Xiangyi, he remained unconvinced. However, after hearing the account of the fierce battle at the Chu camp, he partially accepted the truth. After a whispered conversation with Ta Chang's, Ta Ba ordered all Ta family disciples to assemble for a meeting at midnight. Upon learning of Xiang's actions, the head of the Tu family, Tu Tanku, flew into a rage. Mu Shu then stepped forward, proposing a plan to the family head, who ordered her to place Tu Xiang under house arrest. Elsewhere, the Grand Elder lay unconscious, gravely injured and suffering from the effects of a potent poison. His old friend sat by his side, tending to him and sharing stories of their past experiences, lamenting unfinished business and the weight of age. Thin Long and Dan, who, reminiscing about their youth in their humble dwelling, expressed their desire to continue their adventures with their leader, rejecting retirement. Upon seeing the emergence of Tai Za, they approached to inquire about the Grand Elder's condition. Thin Long expressed his hope that the leader would bring the divine doctor back and would not abandon them. The battle raged on outside the mountain peak. Mo Bai used the Guizhou formation to trap the three of them. Su Ji broke the formation with his staff, but the two Mo family members seized the opportunity to escape. The three continued their journey back to the Chu headquarters. However, Bai Huai seemed unable to accept her father. Seeing this, Su Ji explained his past actions. To cure his ailing wife, he had sought out all the renowned healers, but none could help. Furthermore, the Shadow Guard warned him that meeting his daughter would put her in danger, so he chose to stay away for her safety. The conversation then shifted to Su Xianghua. When asked about his whereabouts, Su Ji revealed that Xianghua was currently on a dangerous mission and didn't wish to be disturbed. Meanwhile, Su Xianghua was locked in a fierce battle with the Mo family head. It seemed Mo Zizhuo held the upper hand, landing a heavy blow on Xianghua. Despite the injury, Xianghua, relying on his agility, managed to slash Mo Zizhuo's face, the wound laced with poison. Unfazed, the Mo family head, known for their expertise in poisons, planned to eliminate Xianghua before treating the wound himself. However, the arrival of the Su family forces forced him to retreat. After escaping Xianghua's pursuers, Mo Bai was eliminated by Mo Qingyan. Su Xianghua, now heavily bandaged, was brought before the Su family head. He explained the situation, but was surprised when Su Jingku revealed that his father, Su Ji, was responsible for Mo Bai's death. Xianghua requested to investigate, but the Su family head insisted he stay and recover, assigning the task to Mu Thur. The family head also expressed his desire to bring the entire Shadow Guard under the Su family's control. That evening, Su Yida brought Xianghua dinner and they discussed their plans. Before leaving, Xianghua asked Su Yida to relay a message to someone: "Hold on to your dreams, stay away from trouble." Elsewhere, Mao Tu advised Tang Liuyu, who remained resolute in his own plans and departed. Afterward, Mao Tu received the secret message Xianghua had sent. The next morning, as Su Xianghua bathed in the sunlight, Mu Thur approached. They discussed the current and impending events concerning the Su family. Mu Thur hinted at something, leaving Xianghua deep in thought as a storm brewed in the sky. Meanwhile, the worried Mo family head, concerned about his son's absence, summoned Mo Xiling. The next morning, upon discovering that his son had been eliminated by To Tr I1EBFT, he was consumed by rage. The Mo family head then ordered a coffin bound by heavy chains to be brought in. An eerie aura emanated from it, darkening the sky above. 4 ghostly soldiers lifted the coffin, and the old man used his power to break the seal, summoning someone. At the Chu residence, KH1AFC Thuk, worried, urged everyone to find a divine healer. Just then, the protagonist returned. Seeing To Tr I1EBFT surrounded by a group of people, he prepared to attack. But To M189 Vu stopped him, promising to explain everything later. After clearing Tr I1EBFT Thuk's name, he led B1EA1CH1EA1C Hawaii inside to treat the Grand Elder. However, the only available treatment required exchanging one life for another. Meanwhile, the Zai family, having sent their subordinates to search without finding Zai B1EA5T T1EA1, the Zai family head dispatched Zai Hai and Zai L1E5C to summon Zai Th1EA5T Dao. However, before they could finish speaking, T1EA1H1ECD Akon arrived, volunteering to assassinate To Zhuangha. She quickly infiltrated the To residence. The 2 brothers, conversing downstairs, detected her eavesdropping and deliberately made noise to provoke her into attacking first. Though injured, their agility prevented H1ECD Akon from succeeding, and she fled. Zhuang had then sent To D1ECBCH Da to inform To M1ED9 Vu of the situation. The protagonist, at that moment, was standing before S1ED Yuan Yu's grave, pouring out his heart, when D1ECBCH Da launched a surprise attack. After a brief fight to vent his frustrations, To D1ECBCH Da was defeated. He then revealed Zhuang's actions, shocking the protagonist, before urging M189 Vu to stay away from trouble and hold on to his dreams. The next morning, while lost in thought, the protagonist received a letter from Vu M1EB7C and shared many things with Thin Long. Following M189 Vu, Chu 1EA3NH's group realized they were individuals, not just tools as they had been in the Mo family. Thin Long and Chu 1EA3NH's group then urged the protagonist to take control of the Mayern Long sword and become the Grand Elder after the current one passed away. He pondered, not answering immediately, but promised to lead everyone home with glory and freedom. The scene shifts to a quiet place where the elderly Zai Th1EA5T Dao was sharpening his sword. A disciple arrived with news. First, Zai B1EA5T T1EA1 had left on a journey. Second, the family head, Zai Ba, invited him back to C1EDU Tiru City to assist the Zai family, and promised to pardon B1EA5TT1EA1. Third, someone had sent a gift, a ring inscribed with the word B1EC9 NG1EA1N other shore. At the D-1EC1 H1ED3 and D-1EC7N, the three guardians, D-1ECB A Quan, Thiern Quan, and TH1EE7Y Quan, decided to go to Omhat to resolve the ongoing situation and restore it to its former state. Thanks to the efforts of Bai Huai, the Grand Elder awoke. Seeing the girl, presumably the Divine Doctor, slumped over, seemingly about to eliminate the Elder, Suji stopped her. The Grand Elder was surprised to learn the Divine Doctor was Suji's daughter. Waking up at this point, Bai Huai thoroughly explained the process of neutralizing the poison within the Elder. Learning that Lao Qi had sacrificed himself to save him, the Grand Elder sighed deeply. Outside, the male lead, presumably Su Mu Yu, saw Uncle Qi off and had a brief conversation with him. By the time the Grand Elder rushed out, it was too late, so he called Mu Yu for a private discussion. Inside the room, they talked about the Mayan longsword and the people from the Daihun Temple. After some discussion, the Grand Elder wanted to pass the sword to the male lead, but he refused. Instead, he persuasively spoke about the three family heads and nominated Su Jinqiu as the most deserving recipient of the Mayan longsword. Hearing these words, the Grand Elder decided to entrust the sword to him to bring back to the Su family. However, before handing it over, he made Su Mu Yu promise that if there were ultimately no other options, he would wield the Mayan longsword and inherit the position of Grand Elder. Outside, the three others were wondering why Su Mu Yu was taking so long when Dan Hu rushed over to announce that he was heading alone to the Su family with the Mayan longsword. This journey was dangerous, so he wouldn't allow anyone to accompany him and asked them to stay behind. The Divine Doctor wanted to go with the male lead, and her father suggested a shortcut for a faster journey. However, he stipulated that Bai Huai had to address him as father before he would reveal it. Without a word, she proceeded to give her father a beating haha. Meanwhile, at the Zai family residence, Hua Khan returned and informed Zai Ba that Xiang He was injured and imprisoned. A subordinate also rushed in with news that Su Mu Yu was taking the Mayan long sword back to the Su family to save Xiang He. Zai Ba devised a cunning plan to inform the Mu family, hoping they would act first, allowing him to swoop in and reap the benefits afterward. Hua Khan was given command of the troops to attack the male lead. That night, as rain poured down, Mu Yu was traveling when he was surrounded by Zai family members and Hua Khan. Uncle Ji and his daughter, who had been waiting there unnoticed, immediately rushed in to intercept the assassins. Hua Khan seized the opportunity to block the male lead's path, but he easily subdued her without even needing his sword. Uncle Ji then provided cover for Mu Yu, allowing him to escape. So the movie ends here. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and a subscribe to wait for the next part.